Okay, so we're going to be talking about content strategies for small business, and this worked before. Now we go. Because we only have an hour, I'm going to be, or a little over now, I'm going to be talking mostly about strategies for websites. But the thing is that the web content, the strategies that you use on the web can be used for your website, apply to almost any kind of content that you want to use. It applies to your social media, it applies to email marketing, and the strategies we're going to talk about even apply to print. So we're going to be talking about what kind of content you need, how to get content ideas, how to create the content, and we're going to be talking about publishing and promoting it, and maybe some productivity tips as well. So the first thing you have to understand is the important role the content plays in your business, because content, the content you put out there, it helps build awareness for your business. It educates and involves people in your business because they want to get to know who they're going to buy from. It builds desire for the products and services the solutions that you're offering to your customers. And then your content has to get people to take the action that you want. You have to get them to buy a product, or to pick up the phone and call you, or to send an email, or to get involved if you're running a content site, to read your content and look at the advertising and other things that make you money. The other thing your content has to do is to encourage people to give you their contact information so that you can get them to come back again, and you want to continue communications with your customer. So what types of content is there? Well, anything that you can put into media is content, really. Anything from how-to information and blogs, coupons, products and pictures, anything that your customer wants to know, what they want to see, infographics, even your logo is content because it identifies you all over the web and all in your print materials. People want to know they're going to be dealing with your company. Reviews, recipes. If you're selling music, sheet music, it's content. It's what your customer wants to know and what they want to see and learn about. So that begs the question then, what kind of content do you need for your own website? And the answer is it depends. It depends a lot on what kind of website you have, what kind of business you have. What do you sell? Who's your customer? Where does the money come from? It doesn't do any good to produce a lot of content if you're not going to make money from it. What's going to get the customer to take action, and what about your content is of interest to the customer? So for instance, if you are a roofer, you need a different kind of content than somebody who's a florist. If you're a roofer, you need content to get the customer to call, to let them know you're right there to fix that roof, that leak that they have in the roof right now, that you're available fast. And then you're also going to need content to help them understand that you're a legitimate company, that you're safe to deal with, that you're not going to rip them off and sell them something you don't need. If you're a florist, what you need to do first of all is show that you have the kind of show beautiful flowers that people might want to send to people for different occasions. You might have for gifts, for weddings, for funerals, but then you also want content that lets people know where you deliver and what your shipping charges are. So the answer to what kind of content you need will depend on what kind of site you have. There's some content every site needs. You need, of course, your business name and a slogan to let people know what you do, a logo, the menu that leads people around your website, or on social media, like on Facebook, some buttons that help people find things you want them to discover. You need images and headlines that let people know that they're in the right place, that you can help them. You want an address or a partial location at least, so that people know where you are. They want to know they're dealing with somebody locally. Can they get to your location? Do you have a physical location? And you want contact information, and you want an About Us page. The information about your company, I usually don't think should be on the home page. It should be on a separate page, because when somebody gets to your home page, they want to know how you're going to help them. They don't know what you think is good about your company yet. They do want to know that stuff later on, but only after they're ready to engage with you. So, for instance, a blog or a magazine type site like we had on Business Know-How, what the customer wants to know, you have to have information that the customer wants, what's going to help them. What the customer wants is to learn something or solve a problem. They want to feel better about themselves, be entertained, do something better that they don't know how, and improve their life, maybe make money. So you need content that feeds those interests. You need educational content, excuse me, on a blog or magazine site, how-to articles, authoritative guides, images, anything that's going to help the customer get the information that they want. And your goal, of course, is always going to be to drive the visitors, use the content that the customers want to see to drive them to the things that will make you make money. That will be the ads or affiliate offers or whatever you have that makes money on your site. So, for example, this is what Business Know-How looked like right before we sold it. We had articles on the home page with little blurbs that entice people to go read the articles, and we had some ads, and we had a place to sign up to get our newsletter. And when somebody opened up one of the articles, they would get the information they were reading about, and we put the ads right where they would see them, because the ads were also content for them in many cases, because it gave them products or services they might be interested in. It also helped us make money. Oh, excuse me. If you're going to sell products, you're going to have a different kind of a page. The customer wants to know always that you're going to satisfy their need. They want to see when they get to your page that you have what they want and how you solve the problem. They want to be able to evaluate the problem, the product, to see if it's going to have the features that they want. And they want shipping and price information. Plus, they might need guarantees that you're a vendor that they can trust. So you need to show them all that information when they get to your page. What I'm going to show you is a really old and ugly page from years ago. And the reason this is something we sold on businessknowhow.net. It was separate from the content site. The reason I'm showing you this old ugly page is because it worked. It drove hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales every year. And the reason it worked is because we had the focus of the page right in the middle. The people were coming to us from ads we bought and from search, and they were looking for labor law posters. So as soon as they got to the page, they saw they were going to, we had a page about labor law posters. We told them bullet points, the questions they were asking us on the phone, we put them in bullet points to answer them. We also included on here that we were a certified woman-owned business, because a lot of our customers for this particular product were big businesses, not small, and they had goals for buying from women-owned businesses. So this let them know we were a woman-owned business. In addition to that, most of the people that were calling us were women, and they liked dealing with women-owned businesses. And then we had two prominent choices. We want them to only focus on two things, buying our posters, and we gave them the two main choices they were looking for. And we did have an email sign-up form. When somebody clicked on one of those poster boxes, then they got taken to a page that let them choose their state. And then again, we brought up exactly what they were looking for. We made it very easy to buy. The add to cart buttons are very prominent, and we had information about guarantees. This is the kind of stuff, obviously you need something that looks better these days, but this is the kind of stuff you need on product pages. Clear focus on what you want them to do, and make it easy to buy, and make it easy for them to find information like guarantees and pricing. Now, suppose you're selling a high ticket product or service. In this case, I found a site that I know about that sells business training. What the customer wants, again, they always want to know how you're going to solve their problem. For this particular type of business, they want to know Can you help them gain control of their business? Can you make it easier to run their business? Can you help them solve their management problems and make more money or get rich? And they want assurances that if they're going to spend a lot of money on something, that they're not going to be wasting their money, that they're going to make money from it or gain and learn from it. So you need content that answers all those types of questions. You have to let them know immediately that they're in the right place. You want to show a list of your products. You want prominent calls to action and content that demonstrates to them what they may gain if they sign up for your service. Excuse me. So this is an example of that kind of site. It's a site called Whiz Bang Training that a couple I know run. They were in retail for years and now they offer training. And when you get to their site, you immediately know what they do. They sell retail training for small businesses. And you can tell by the words on the page and also by the photograph that's there. This is for retailers. You can see what they want you to do, and it is to discover their products. So when you click on that button, I'll show you in a second, it drops down a list of their products. Down below that, they have a big ad for a conference they have coming up. So when you click on that Our Products button, it drops down a list of their products so you can see what they're about. And when you click on any of them, then you get the detailed information about it. There's a little video of the person that does the training. Now, if you want more information before you buy one of these expensive training courses, then you want to look at the free tips, which he's got there to give you some idea of what you might learn. And his blog is a video blog, so you can get an idea of what it's like. Is this person going to help you? These are the kinds of things that you want to put on your site too. You want to help the customer to know that you can solve their problem. So where do you start for your own business? And you start by creating a customer profile, because you can't create content if you don't know. I mean, you can create content, but you're not going to create content that's relevant unless you know who the customer is and what they want. So you want to put together a customer profile. You want to know their age, the gender, what they do. And you want that information because some of that information should be in the pictures so that they know you're talking to them. Are they a consumer or a business? What do they need? What do they want? What do they want to achieve by interacting with you, by buying your products or services? You want to know what time are they looking for these? Is it a business shopper who's going to be looking for information during the day, or is it somebody that's going to be a consumer who's going to be shopping late at night online? All that stuff helps you decide when you should put your social media out there or when you should run ads, as well as what kind of content. The more you know about the customer, the better off you are. And the reason is you need to be relevant. The customer doesn't care what you want to sell. They don't care what you have. They care what's in it for them. How can you help them? So what you want to try to figure out is what needs or desires they want to fill. They want to know, as you just said, what does your business do? And you got to tell them quickly. They want to know what goods and services you provide and how they're going to help them. You want to figure out how much information they need before they'll make a purchase. Some purchasers are impulse buys. Some purchasers need a lot of information. You want to know whether or not that you have to convince them that you're a trustworthy vendor. Some businesses, like a roofer, you do. With a florist, it might be more about showing the product. The secret to any kind of good content, whether it's on your website, social media, email, or in print, is to put yourself in the customer's shoes. What do they want to know? How can you answer their questions about your business so that you can show them that you are the answer to their questions and to what they want to know? So what happens on today when people are looking for products and services? They kind of follow a journey. They want to be in control more so than ever in the past of what they do. So their journey starts by first becoming aware that they have a problem and that there might be solutions out there for it. And they go online. always to, or almost always, to look for more information, to become more informed. They get more interested as they read online. They do research online. And then finally, they'll make it to a website and they need to be convinced that it's time to buy or that they should buy. The thing is that you need to produce content that helps them along each of the stages in their journey. What kind of messaging do you need to get them interested in, and how do you help get them aware of what you sell? What media do you need to put in front of, to get in front of them with? Do you need to be on social media? How are you going to reach them? And then what's going to lead to the purchase? Is it an impulse? Do you have to give them a lot of informative information about how to use the product? So the more you have to develop content that helps them along each one of the stages of the journey. And where do you get the ideas? How do you discover what the customer wants? Well, there are a number of ways. One is that you can take questions that your customers are asking you and write them down. Those questions are things that people want to know about your products and services, and they make good content to put on your website. You can get ideas from newspapers and industry publications. And the TV, what is of concern to people right now? How does that apply to your industry? What can you do with that to turn it into content? For instance, recently Newsday had a big feature on people who were being forced into early retirement because of COVID and being laid off. So if you were had a career site, you could turn that into an article on maybe how to prepare for a Zoom interview, what skills you might need to update to be ready for a new job. Or you might turn it into, if you were doing counseling or a career coach, into an article on how to overcome the stress of having been laid off. There are always ways that you can take things that are that are on people's minds and turn them into content for your own niche or industry. Competitors, I'll get back to search engines in a minute. Competitor sites are an amazing source of information too. You do not want to copy them. Copying them is a copyright violation. It's unethical. There are all sorts of things wrong with copying their content. But what you can do is take the ideas that they're using and create similar kinds of content for your site. Social media searches is another good place to get ideas for what kind of content to put on your site. But the easiest way, excuse me, I need a drink. The easiest and the fastest way is to look at the search engines. Search engines, Google particularly, but Google and Bing, they have years of experience and years of data about what people are searching for. And what people are searching for is the information that they want to know about any product or service. And it is information, if they're searching for it, you need to have that content on your site. It's that simple. You want to help them answer their questions. So for instance, I went to Google and I typed gluten-free into the search engine. And as I typed it in, they have something called autocomplete. And when I typed in the term gluten-free, then it dropped down a list of terms that were related to it, that other people were searching for. Gluten-free diet, special offer. All of these terms are things, if I had a gluten-free site, that I would want to have content about on my website. Now, to get even more information, I took one of those terms, gluten-free, and I did another search, and I got even more terms that should be on my site, assuming I want a gluten-free site. You want to copy these down or take a screenshot of them so that you can save them. Then if you scroll a little further down the page, there's something called People Also Ask. These are actual questions people are asking about. Again, this is all content for you, ideas for content. If you're having a gluten-free site, you want to answer these questions somewhere on your site so that people will have the information. Then if you scroll down even further, you can see more about what Google is finding that people are searching for. And if people are searching for it, if a lot of people are searching for it, it's what should be on your site. Let me get back here. So for instance, as you scroll down here, Google was showing you picture recipes. So you might want Google for gluten-free recipes on your site because people are searching for them. Scroll more and you can see that this video is showing up. And then, wait a minute, I'm losing it here. They'll show you that they're videos. So that means that people are searching for videos. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll find that there's pictures. So you need to know, you need pictures in your content on your website. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll find even more related sites, related content that people are searching for. All of this information can provide, you should be writing it down because it will provide content ideas for your own website. Because getting those ideas, if you suddenly, say, oh, what am I going to write about today? It's like, you don't know. But if you have a list of the ideas, then it's easy to go and start writing. Another thing is when you go and type in a search term that's related to your business, if Google shows you a map, it means that Google thinks that is a local search and that people want to find businesses locally to deal with. So that means for you need to be on Google My Business, to have a Google Business page and a Microsoft Bing page, and to also be in Google Maps. And you want to have content, be sure you have content on your website that has your address, your location on every single page of the site that helps you get found here. You want to look at the actual search, search listings too. What are the headlines on them? Because those headlines are things that Google thinks people are searching for. And once you look at the headlines, and you do want to open up the sites and go to those competitor sites to see what they're writing about, again, and what their images look like, what their sites look like. Again, you do not want to copy them. It's illegal to copy their content. It's illegal to copy their pictures. But you can get ideas for what should be on your site, your own site, and write your own stories about the same topics. Find your own images to use. So you can get even more free ideas, and from a place called Answer the Public. This will give you questions that people are asking. It sort of collects everything the search engines have on multiple pages and creates a list of questions. They show you first just an image of questions in a circle, but you can export them into a spreadsheet, and you can come up with literally hundreds of questions that people are asking about your topic area. And then you can find, once you have all these questions, you know what people are asking, but you want to be spending your time. You can't write all of that content probably, or at least not right away. So you want to spend your time on the searches that are getting the most queries. What are people searching for the most? Are there 10,000 people searching for it, or none? If nobody's searching for it, you don't want to waste time writing about it, perhaps. And there is a tool called Keywords Everywhere that's pretty inexpensive to use, that will help you find that information. With Keywords Everywhere, when you type in a search query, it will show you not only some related searches, but how many times people have searched for those, what the cost of buying the keywords are, and how competitive it is. Other search tools can take, SEO tools can cost up to $100 a month. This costs $10 you buy credits to use it. For $10, you can get enough credits that you can run searches for months, I found anyway. And it's a really useful tool. Again, you can export this into a spreadsheet, and so that you have all the data. This I'll skip for now. This is a more advanced site if you want to do competitive research. It's a site called SE Ranking. What this one does is it lets you look up what your competitors are ranking for, so you know what keywords they're doing. But this one's about $50 a month. So how do you develop? What do you do with all this information you've gathered? You've taken maybe a half hour to do the research I just showed, maybe less. You now have this tremendous list of content ideas of words that people are searching for and questions. So what do? You look at which searches were the most popular and the related searches. You want to see which ones, go over it, remember which ones Google said were the things that people are looking for, what kind of images, do you need video? And then you take all this data you've gathered and you go back and you audit your own website, assuming you already have one up. You look at, if you don't have a website up yet, then all your data you've just looked at, all this research you've done will give you a good clue, a good indication of what you should be putting on the site. If you already have a site, what you do is go back and audit your site to see what you have, what you don't have, and what you need. You want to see, do you have content holes? What does maybe some of your competitors talk about that you're not, that's attracting visitors? What are people searching for online? What were those popular searches that you're not talking about on your website that you can add in? Do you need lengthier content to attract more visitors? Do you need more information, more pictures? What exactly do you need? You can use all that research you've done to help you make those determinations, and pay attention to details. Is it clear what you do? It's so important that people don't realize you think you're making yourself clear and you're not. Do you need demos or case studies? Are people going to look at your site and say, well, prove it to me? How do I know that this is going to help me? So you might need demos and case studies. What should be on your product pages? You've looked at other people's sites. What do they have on their product pages? How do they display them? What kind of images do you need? All of this information, all of your research, by looking at what you've learned and what content you have, will help you develop the content to put on your site. So how do you do that? I purposely use the term gluten-free in a lot of the searches because I know absolutely nothing about gluten-free foods or diets. And I wanted to see, well, if you did the search, is it really easy to do something with it? How could you turn it into content for your website? So for instance, I found all the terms that people were searching for and the questions. So I could write educational and blog posts related to the information I found. So I might write based on all the things I saw. I might want to write an article with 5 benefits of gluten-free diets, 3 reasons you'll feel better when you are gluten-free. Gluten-free meals kids will love. Now, remember, I know nothing about gluten-free. These are all ideas that came from that research I did. I might want to write longer articles. How do I start a gluten-free diet? What foods are gluten-free? You can do this with your subject matter too. You just do that research and think, what are people asking about it? How can I make that content for my site? You might want to create a fact page. I did a search on wigs for another topic to see if you could do the same thing. And sure enough, I could find facts. What are advantages of synthetic hair, human hair? How do I know my wig size? Those are all things that can go into a fact page. Lists are popular, things called listicles, which are just lists of ideas. So you could do that with the content, with your research again, gluten-free, 20 gluten-free snacks, 5 gluten-free main courses. These are all ideas I came up with less than a half hour's research about a topic I don't even know anything about. And then you could create videos. For here, I used an example of skiing. But you can do this stuff. It's easy. Once you have the research and you know what people want to know, then you can just apply it to what you do. So here's an example of what a fact page looks like. You've seen them all over the place. You can do this for your content too. Again, they're the questions that customers ask the most. You want to use images. The images show people, you want them on your site and your social media. They show people what you do. You want your images to show people exactly what you do. They don't want to see a picture of your storefront. They want to know what you're going to do that's going to solve their problem. So if you're a cleaning company, for instance, if you do residential cleaning, you want a picture of somebody cleaning homes on your web page and in your social media. If you do commercial cleaning, you want a picture of somebody cleaning an office. If you do both, you might put both pictures side by side with the links under each of them. Check out our home cleaning services, check out our commercial cleaning services. The idea is that as soon as somebody gets to your web page, they need to know exactly what you do, just like that retail training site that I showed you. If you have a blog style site, what you want are images in your articles that show the people give them an idea of what kind of information they get before they read the whole article, because everybody's in a hurry. So for instance, we just put up an article on the email marketing site, ideas site, about email ideas to send to your list during the spring in April and May. So we used an image, excuse me, from an image site that a photo licensing site that shows somebody reading outside in the spring, a nice spring day, reading on her computer. So immediately you know this is ideas for the spring. I need a drink, excuse me. Another really important thing is to talk your customer's language. And by this, I mean using the words and the phrases they use to describe your products and services. Those labor law posters we sold, some people called them workplace posters or minimum wage posters, but we discovered that the most common term was labor law posters. So that's the term we used on the site. The same thing, if I go out the door in the morning and I throw my glasses and my phone in something to take with me, I throw it in what I call a pocketbook. And if I were going to start a store selling pocketbooks, I would, if I hadn't done any research, I would use the term pocketbook on all of my pages, leather pocketbooks, cloth pocketbooks, whatever. And that would be okay, but it wouldn't be the best term to use. When I did the research on pocketbooks, what turns out is pocketbook is the term that gets the least number of searches. More people want to buy handbags and even more want to buy purses, which is a term I would never have thought of. So if you look at this page from Nordstrom that showed up when I was doing a search, it showed up in Google. And you can see that the headline on the page, what Google is showing is handbags, purses, and wallets for women from Nordstrom. And what happens is that if you look, those words are in the title of the page that Nordstrom has. They have handbags, purses, and wallets, as you can see over here on the side. So you use the words that your customer uses to describe what you're selling, and that helps you show up in search, and it helps when they get to your page that they know that they're in the right place. Another thing you can do is to create a glossary. This is useful for any kind of product or service that has terms, that uses terms that people may not be familiar with. What happens if you're reading along and, for instance, we had an article and we're talking about A/B testing. And if somebody doesn't know what that is, they might go back to Google and search, what does A/B testing mean? Find that answer and completely forget about your site, and you've lost them. So instead, what we want is we put the information right in front of them so they don't have to leave. We used a WordPress plugin for this, a glossary plugin for this. So we entered all the terms we wanted in a glossary. This particular plugin then goes out into our content, finds any place that uses any of the terms we used in the glossary, and then underlines them. So when you're reading the content, over here it says a successful A/B test, whatever. It underlines that. If you click on the underline, it immediately pops up the answer. What is A/B testing? So the people don't have to go away. They can stay on our site. And it also, glossaries can also help you get found in search sometimes. So what else can you write about? anything you know that the customer doesn't. What information do you have access to that they don't? Industry data that you can share, government studies. You want to take maybe 1 or 2 points, what did they find? What were the results? Mention them and then link to the study so that the person can get that information themselves. You don't have to be original. You just have to be interesting and relevant to the customer. Share a story about why you started the business. This is a great way to get publicity. And if you put that story on your about page, people will find it and see, just be interested in what you're doing and see there's a human interest element to it. You can put it in a video, and you might even send it once a year. You might send your story out on the anniversary. You might put it in an email, say, here's a link to read our story. You want to share relevant experiences. I've done this before on the Business Know-How site. Things where one day I was shopping for cars and I was totally ignored. And I wrote an article, didn't name the dealer or anything, but about the experience and how businesses should teach their salesperson not to ignore customers and how they should interact with them. Another thing you can do is run a survey and publish the results. Or you can run a survey and use it to decide what to put on your own website. One of the questions we used to put in surveys we ran on Business Know-How is, what's your biggest problem? What's your most pressing problem? And by getting that information from customers, we knew what topics to write about. So I just want to show you a couple of ways that creating a story and creating a story about why you started the business, how it can help. These are 2 press releases that came to us on Business Know-How. One was a grandmother who started a business because she had gotten a pocketbook as a gift that didn't have any, it was just a big bag, had nothing in it for organizing stuff. So she invented a pocketbook organizer that you could put your stuff in. You just move it from pocketbook to pocketbook. And she turned that into a fantastic business. And she was in her late 60s when she started that business. So we picked up on that press release and we interviewed her and we did a story about her, and so did a lot of other places. So she got a lot of publicity, got people back to her website, and it was an interesting story. The same thing is true of another press release we got was from a woman by the name of, I think her name was Lolita. And she was out on a girls' night out, and she was an artist. They were kidding around, and somebody said, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun if you painted pictures on martini glasses?" So she did, and she built it into a big business. I found her glasses a few years ago in Macy's. But these are human interest stories that can help get you publicity. It can help people relate to you, and that brings you business. The thing you want to do always is you want to sell to the heart, not to the mind. We all want to think that we buy logically. We know exactly what we're doing, but realistically, it's emotion that drives the sale, and we use logic to convince ourselves that it was the right decision. Excuse me. The motivators, some of the common motivators, and these are things that you want to make your content help people. Your content should show people how it can solve these issues. The motivators of fear. We buy insurance because we're afraid of losing money if we don't have insurance, for instance. We want to solve or relieve a problem. We want to take away a pain, something that's annoying to us. We want, for instance, I don't like doing a lot of paperwork. I don't particularly like doing production for my website. So to take away that pain from me, I hire a virtual assistant. People want financial gain. They want to be healthier. They want to enjoy things. They want to have pleasure. Think about the emotions that people have and how they trigger a sale or interest in your product or service. Now, here's a website that does a great job of doing this. This is a gentleman by the name of Greg Davis, who has a business in Deer Park. He has MS, and he was discovering that he had lost a lot of his mobility. He liked to get outside and go for walks, but he couldn't do that anymore. But he discovered that a recumbent trike let him gain that mobility back. He could ride down a path that he couldn't walk down. So he found it so joyful that he decided to open up a store selling these recumbent trikes to other people, focusing on other people who had mobility issues. And if you look at his website, it does just such a terrific job of capturing the emotion of what it's like to own the product and to use it. So he's got this picture of him riding down a path, I think it might be Belmont Lake State Park, but I'm not sure where it is, on a beautiful sunny day. And then he's got this one word in the middle, freedom, which is exactly the emotion and the experience of riding that. And then he has a link to take the action that he wants you to take, which is to take a ride. And that leads you to a page to contact him so that you can make an appointment to go look. Excuse me. What I've cut off at the top of the page here is the menu that leads to the products and the other information. But it's just that this picture so much captures the experience that you want to learn more about it. And we're doing on time here. Okay, so always keep in mind what the customer wants to acquire. They don't want the thing you sell, they want what that thing is going to do for them. So if you're selling wedding flowers, yeah, they might want roses or chrysanthemums or something, but what they really want is to impress the guests, to look great in photos, to have the color of the flowers match the gowns maybe in the wedding party. Somebody who's hiring a personal trainer, they don't really probably want to exercise, but they do want to look better and they want to be healthier and maybe want the procedure saying, hey, I have a personal trainer. Website development, people don't necessarily want a website. What they want is, excuse me, a place to get sales and leads and a way to make money. The same is true for any business. Think what you do and then what the customer wants as a result of acquiring what you do. And then you, in addition to that, you do need those facts, the facts that they can use to convince themselves that this was the right idea, that you are the right place to buy. So you want to tell them exactly what you do, how the product works, will it work for them, how much do they need a lot of skills to use it, can they order online, answer all those questions that the customer is going to have in your content. So some tips, you want to use content that's the right length. If you're providing informational content, that might be content that's longer. Google seems to, from what I've seen lately for informational type queries, Google likes content that's anywhere between 1,000 and 2,500 words long. Now, by saying Google likes it, that means what they show in the first couple of pages of search. The other thing that Google does is they look inside your content, and if somebody's searching for a term and it's buried inside your content and they think that that's a good response to the search query, they'll show that page in the search listing, and when somebody clicks on the page, Google won't take them to the top of the page, they'll take them right to the middle of the page where the answer to that question is. So for instance, I searched for how to pay yourself when you're self-employed. It's an article I wrote, but I searched for that on Google, and Google did produce, did show me the article that I had written, which is now on Zen Business, on how to pay yourself when you're so self-employed. And when I clicked on that article, it didn't take me to the top of the article where the title is. It took me right to the paragraph that talked about paying yourself. So the longer your content is, and the more of those facts you have woven into the content, the more likely you are to get found on Google when somebody is searching for for what you sell. And the other thing is that the more information you provide to help the people who are coming to your site to decide to deal with you or interact with you. If you're selling products, you don't want a lot of content when they hit the product page usually. Again, it's going to depend what they're buying, but in most cases, most of your content is going to be contained in your images. So you want short text because you don't want them reading all over necessarily, but you want them to see exactly what they're going to get. So I was searching on Etsy for silver earrings, and it showed me silver earrings, and I like hammered jewelry, and that was what came up in the when I searched for silver earrings. That was one of the things that came up. So when I clicked on that, I got to a page that shows me it has the focus of this page is what those earrings look like. You can see without reading any text about how big they are because it shows the earrings on somebody's finger. So you get an idea of the size. You get an idea of what they look like because it's a good, clear image. It's exactly what you're going to get. And then to help get found on Etsy and other places, and so that people know that this is even more information about what it is, the headline on this page listed exactly all the terms that people might search for: silver earrings, hammered earrings, silver dangle earrings. And then it gave you the price and made it very clear, said it was a bestseller, gave you a place, I guess, to select options if they had different sizes. It told you it was in stock, and it had an add to cart button. It also told you how long it was going to take to arrive. This is what you want to do with your content pages. You want them to be this clear, this easy to find what it's about and how to buy it and what to expect. Excuse me. Don't bury your call to action. Your call to action are those buttons that tell people the action you want them to take. Click here to find out about our products, buy a product. Sign up for our email list. You want to make those things visible without scrolling on a desktop. And you want to put those calls to action in multiple places. You want to put them up high on your site. You want to put them in the middle of the page and on the bottom of the page. You can test different colors and make different buttons and pictures. Test different words to see what works. As you're producing the content, how do you take all this information that you decided you need, and how do you create it? The easiest way to do it is to schedule time and plan out a couple of months worth of content at one time. Because if you wait to do it week by week, it doesn't get done. Take an hour and plan out what content you're going to use and when you're going to put it up on the site. Write down your ideas as they occur to you as you have them. Get that. Save all that research you've done, because you can keep going back to that over and over again, and create a content calendar for yourself so that you know what type of content you're going to publish, what media you want it to go out to, and when you want it to go out. If it's scheduled, it's easy to do. It's like when you're getting ready for a party, you make a list of what you have to do, and you just check off the list and you get it done. If you don't have it on the list, it doesn't get done. The same is true with your content. And then you want to block out time to produce the content. I find that it's easier to do to block out a day or a half a day. This is exactly the time I'm going to write, and these are the pieces I'm going to get done in that time. So I've got a schedule to get them done. And if you're going to give them to freelancers or other people to do, be sure you give them enough lead time. So what happens if you think you can't write? A lot of people say, I don't know how to write. I don't like to write. I don't know what to say. Well, the easy way to go about writing your content is to write an outline. Or if you don't like outlines, formal outlines, just list the key points that you want to cover. And those key points go back to all that research you did. Take a few of those topics and make them into an article. And then just write down the information you know. Take each one of those key points and write a little bit of information about it, and you have content. If you're stuck on an introductory paragraph, don't write it. Write it last. Finish the article and then go back and put the introductory paragraph on. And don't try to be clever. On the web, people don't want you to be clever. They want you to solve a problem. You just need to show how you solve that problem. Alternately, you can give your outline to a writer and let them fill in the pieces. That also works. Or you can buy pre-written content if you're looking for how-to content rather than ads. There are sites like constantcontent.com where you can go and look at snippets of articles and decide if you want to buy them. Another alternative is you can go to sites like Fiverr and Upwork and search for people to create your writing or your graphics for you. Yeah, there's also another one called Text Broker where you can get writing. And finally, there are some artificial intelligence writing tools. The ones I've looked at so far, I don't think are particularly good. They might be good for producing outlines, but I would never use the content as is that comes out of those. As far as where I find writers and content, that kind of content, a couple of ways. One, and I think I have this somewhere on the screen here. One of the things I've done is I've taken the topic information I want to have somebody write something about, say financial information, or in one case we had somebody write about Bitcoin, and I searched for the term I wanted to write stories about and the word freelancer and found names of freelancers that wrote about those subjects. Then I went to their site and talked to them and saw what they wrote and eventually hired them. Another is to go to some of these online sites. I've used Fiverr and I've used Upwork. And let me see if that's the next slide here. Yeah, okay, that might be on this one. If you're working with them, there's Fiverr, there's Upwork, there's a Text Broker is another place I found some writers. All of these can be useful, but it is really, really hard to find good writers and creative help. So when you find them, try to keep using the same ones, and I believe in paying them quickly because they seem to like that. If you're buying content, whether you're buying it from a freelancer you found on your own or through any of these services, you need to make sure that there are no copyright violations in what they've providing you. The services do some of that checking themselves, so you can usually figure there's not going to be a copyright violation in something you get from an Upwork or a Text Broker or Fiverr, but you still want to be sure. So a service I use to check that is called Copyscape. Again, that's pretty inexpensive. I think I spend about $10 and I do a lot of this, and it probably lasts me 6 months to a year for the number of searches that I do. You need to check the copy that you get for inaccuracies and for wording that's not right for your industry, because a writer that's not familiar with your industry might use the wrong term or might not get the right slant on how things are really done. And if you don't have what the experience is really like, people are going to leave and say you're not the real thing. They won't come back. I found on some of this content that I've bought through these services that I've had to do a lot of rewriting, but rewriting the content after I bought it was easier than taking the time to write it myself. Excuse me. You can send it, if something isn't satisfactory, you can send it back and ask for it to be rewritten, or if it's still not satisfactory, you can ask for a refund or a credit. If you're hiring directly and you're not going through one of these services, you should have a work for hire agreement with the writer so that you own all the content and that they can't say that you don't own it later, so that you can use it and reuse it in whatever way you want. When you're buying from the services, what you have to look for is what rights you are buying. Some of the services offer different rights, whether you're buying all rights or only the right to use it one time, and other people could be using it too. Once you get all the content written, you also have to publish it or produce it. And again, you've got all this content and you have to get it up on the website. As I mentioned before, that's not something I'm crazy about doing, though I do it myself. I can. I hire a virtual assistant because it saves me time, and she's just much more efficient at doing these things than I am. You can set up multiple posts at one time as a time management thing. It saves you time to just go, if you've got all the content written, to set up multiple posts at one time. And then even if you don't want them to show up at one time, if you're using WordPress, you can put them all in WordPress, and you can tell WordPress what date you want them to show up on your website, and it will show up on that date and time. You can do the same with email. You set up all your emails in advance, say for a month or so, and you tell the email service what date you want them to send out the email, and it will do it. Those are some things that help with the time. The other thing that's important as you develop your website, you're going to have a lot of content there. And just because you used it once doesn't mean you can't use it again. You can repeat your posts on social media, and you should, at different times of the day and different days of the week to reach different people. You might have to change the headlines a little bit to comply with some of the reposting rules that the services have, because you want it to look a little different. But the idea is that you're going to reach different people with the same content, and so, because you'll miss some of them otherwise. You can run posts on social media promoting what you posted in email and vice versa. And you can take your email newsletters and resend those. One thing that we do a lot is to resend the email, resend the newsletter to people who didn't open the email the first time. Because just because they didn't open it the first time doesn't mean they didn't want it. They just didn't get to it that time, or came at a time of day that they didn't see it. So we might change the headline on it when we resend it, or we might change the time of day that we resend it to get more people, more of our readers to see it. And then you can take your older content, if you have content that you wrote 6 months ago, see if it needs to be updated, make a few changes to it, and then resend it out to your mailing list. It does two things. It'll get people that didn't see it the first time, maybe. It will get all the new people that are on your mailing list that joined it in the last 6 months that never saw it to begin with. So that's another way of repurposing and reusing your content. Oh, we're getting kind of late here. Pretty much you want short copy for email and social, because people are looking on their phone and they want to just find something, and they don't want to look around a lot. You're best off sticking to one article and one image. If you have too much, they'll look at it and choose none, and they'll just forget about you. Okay, as far as what you can send in email, it's all the things that your readers want to know about. They want announcements of new stuff on the site or new products, promotions, reminders, teasers that point to your website article, survey results. All the content you've been building should go out in your newsletter to remind people and keep your name fresh to your customers and to your prospects. If you segment your list so that you can send promos and content to the things that people are specifically interested in. If you had a shoe store, for instance, and you know somebody was buying only women's shoes, send them all your promos about women's shoes. If they buy children's shoes, send them all your promos about children's shoes. When we were selling labor law posters, what we did is we divided our list up based on the states that people bought posters for. So the people in New York didn't know when Michigan changed the law, they only wanted New York. So we sent only the people in New York changes about New York, and for each state we did it that way. You can do that with your list too. Another time saver is to use ready-made templates. These are some email templates from Constant Contact. All the email services have them. And combine tasks. If you're in your email service, when you go to set up your email to send out information about what's new on your site, you can set up to send out social media at the same time. So the key takeaways: identify your content and your marketing goals, understand your audience, because that's key. It only matters what the audience wants, not what you want to sell. You just have to show them that you have what they want. Determine your content needs based on your research, and create a content schedule and stick to it. repurpose and reuse, and that's how you can get in contact with me.